Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is fried bacon mac and cheese. But today we are making party food, and I don't care if it's a game day, your birthday, or a holiday. If you're having a party, potluck style with lots of appetizers, this is one you need to know about. It's fried bacon mac and cheese, and we're doing it from start to finish on the Napoleon grill. So quick rundown, we're gonna start by roasting some bacon inside the grill. We're gonna make our macaroni on the side burner, as well as a pimento cheese sauce, and then we'll bring all of those things together, and eventually they'll end up balled up so we can deep fry them on the side burner. So today we're gonna be cooking on the Napoleon Prestige 500 gas grill. We've got a pound of bacon that we're gonna throw in here and roast off on the rack. So I've got all these burners on right now over medium-low heat. The bacon's sitting on the rack. This is one of my favorite ways to cook bacon. The texture is incredible. So we're just gonna kind of slowly roast this bacon until it's crispy and rendered out. As far as the ambient grill temperature goes, we're at about 425 degrees. So while the bacon's cooking, we're gonna cook up our macaroni. We've got a pot of water brought to a boil on the side burner. I'm gonna shake just a little bit of salt, a teaspoon or two in here. And then we've got 8 ounces of elbow macaroni. So we're gonna set a timer for about 6 minutes here to check on it. We want it softened, but definitely not overcooked, as it will be cooked again when it's fried. So here's about 6.5 minutes. Just gonna pick one of these out of here. They're too hot to be handling, really. But that's a good doneness. Not soggy yet, but softened. So we'll strain this off. We're gonna get it out of that hot water. Do a little drain here, and then into our bowl. Just gonna hit that with a little bit of olive oil so it doesn't stick. All right, now that can chill out while we start our cheese sauce and check on the bacon. But we're about 25 minutes in on the bacon. Still pretty soft. The browning around the edges is not a concern because this was smoked and it was brown like that to start with. We just need to let this keep going for a little bit longer. Now for our pimento cheese sauce, we're gonna start off melting down some butter, a couple tablespoons, right here in that same Dutch oven that we cooked our pasta. Then we're gonna throw in 2 tablespoons of flour and 1 tablespoon of our Yoder Smokers beef rub. So making our roux here, we're gonna let this cook down for about 60 seconds. We're kind of cooking some of the raw out of that flour, kind of waking up some of those spices. Already smells really great. Those spices that are just warming up and really opening up out of that Yoder beef rub. So now we're gonna come in with our half and half. We've got 2 cups of that. We'll start slow and watch it thicken up. And continue to add a little bit more until all 2 cups are incorporated. Once you're sure there's not gonna be any lumps, we can get the rest of that in there. And then we'll watch this come up to a simmer before we start adding our cheese in. So now that we see that bubbling, we're ready to start adding our cheeses. And we're gonna do about 4 ounces of sharp cheddar, 4 ounces of American cheese, and 8 ounces of a pimento cheese spread. But you pretty much find the cheddar and the American in the pimento cheese spread, so we're just kind of adding some extra cheesiness to it. Just a handful at a time, whisking until it's completely melted before you add the next handful. We've got our American cheese just diced up. We're gonna switch gears real quick here, checking on the bacon, and it's looking really nice, getting crisp around the edges. Check the time on this just to let you guys know. That's about 40 minutes. Ready to come off. The last of the American cheese going in now. And make sure that gets melted all the way before we add in our pimento. All right, now pimento spread, if you're not familiar with this is kind of an American Southern thing. There's mayo in there, there's American, there's some cheddar cheese, and then this has got some peppers and some other just aromatics going on. So it's a very creamy cheese spread, which means we're gonna get a very creamy mac and cheese, and that's really the key for what we're doing today. Go ahead and turn the heat off now. And just let that melt into the sauce. And that's finished. So we're gonna chop up this bacon now and just kind of show you guys the doneness. This is a very smoky bacon, so it looks a little darker than maybe what you would normally picture, but this should have a little bit of movement to it, but still be crisp around the edges. At least in my preference, that's how I like for this bacon to end up. If you go a little extra crunchy, you're not gonna hurt anything when you consider that this is gonna end up inside mac and cheese, and there's gonna be a lot of moisture going on inside of those as well. I'm just gonna dice these up into pieces that are small enough that they don't just completely stick out. Nice little salty, crunchy pockets inside of our mac and cheese balls. So now it's time to bring these three components together: bacon, macaroni, and cheese sauce. This is going to look super saucy, and that is really key when you're doing these mac and cheese balls, because they are going to get fried again. And if you don't go extra cheesy, extra saucy on these, they can kind of dry out. What we want is when we crack open the final product, it should still be creamy on the inside. Now, obviously, the tough part about that is we can't ball this up the way it is. It's too warm. So we're going to transfer this to a pan. We're going to chill this down in the fridge until it's solid, and then we can form it into balls. So spread this in an even layer, and I feel like just for like quality control, probably should taste it and make sure. It's so creamy. That makes me happy. It's smoky as well. Great flavors. All very savory flavors. Obviously the bacon, the beef rub. That pimento is just so creamy and adds a really unique flavor. Pretty crucial step here before you throw it in the fridge. Make sure that you've got plastic wrap in contact with the surface so we don't form a crust. It's just gonna make it that much easier to form these into balls later. So you're gonna need probably a few hours to get this chilled down, at least a couple. Or what you can do is just leave it in there overnight, pull it out the next morning, and go ahead and form these into balls. So I'm gonna take a little scoop. This is a 1/4 cup size scoop. The scoop makes it a lot easier. Turn it out, roll them up, just try to get them into a nice even shape. You can see how it gets tacky on the surface right away. That cream sauce is starting to melt just from us handling it. So that's why we gotta work fast and make sure we keep it cold. This recipe is gonna yield about 20 of these mac and cheese balls. And you're gonna wanna chill them down again before we get them breaded and into the fryer. So another hour or so in the fridge once you form them. And that's why it's a great idea to go ahead and make the mac and cheese the day before. That way party day comes and you're kind of ready to roll. So now we're setting up for our standard 3-stage breading process. The first stage is flour. We've got a cup of flour. We're gonna add to that a tablespoon of the Yoder beef rub. Stage 2, the egg wash. So we've got 3 eggs. Just beat those until nice and smooth. And then we're gonna add a 1/2 cup of half and half. And then the final stage is our panko breadcrumbs. We'll start off with about 2 cups. We've got 3 total just in case we need it. And just like with the flour, 1 tablespoon of seasoning per cup. We give that a good mix, give our flour a good mix. And then I've got a batch of our macaroni balls that I've formed up this morning. Just pulled those out of the fridge so they're ready to go. So in this process, we're gonna keep a dry hand and a wet hand so we don't make too much of a mess out of our gloves. So dry hand first goes into the flour. Shake that excess off into the wet. Now our wet hand. And we're gonna go back to the flour. And this is because we wanna form a nice thick crust around this creamy sauce so it doesn't ooze right out while it's frying. And then one more time back into the egg wash. And then we hit it with the panko. So the double flour, double wet, that's really just to create a nice crust around the outside of the mac and cheese so we don't lose that. pretty much whatever sticks, stays, and that's it, just like that. All right, we're gonna do this 18 more times, and we'll be ready to prep for frying. Well, the mac and cheese is all breaded up now. We've got our oil heating on the side burner. In the Dutch oven, we've got about 2 to 3 quarts of oil that's sitting right around 350 degrees. So you can see we're sitting just shy of 350 right now. But we can do about 4 to 5 of our mac and cheese balls at a time here. Just be very careful as you drop them in, and go one at a time so we don't overwhelm the oil. If it starts bubbling up too high, go ahead and stop. Even pull it out if you need to. I'm gonna make sure that the oil never overflows. Now, I've tried frying these at multiple temperatures, and I've found that 325 to 350 is kind of the sweet spot. That gets you a nice golden brown, and the only thing is the center of these isn't gonna be all the way hot at the end of about a 3-minute fry. So what we're doing is we've got the grill set up to finish these coming up to temperature inside the grill. So this is what 3 minutes looks like, a nice golden brown. We're gonna transfer this inside the grill now. Now the alternative would be to fry these at a much lower temperature, but the problem with that is they end up really greasy on the outside. So it really does work out better to just get that crunch and that crisp and that color on the outside that you want, and then let these finish coming up to temp over indirect heat here in the grill, so they'll be nice and ooey gooey in the middle. The temperature's about 400 degrees in here, the ambient temperature, but most of that heat's all coming from this right side, so indirect heat. Last batch coming out of the oil now. It's been about a 20-minute process to do these 4 rounds, which isn't too bad. Some of our fried mac and cheese here at the front's already coming up to temp, but it's not gonna hurt them at all to sit in here a little bit longer while the rest do. Now I'm gonna mix up a little barbecue ranch dipping sauce to go with our fried mac and cheese. I've got some homemade ranch here, which you guys can watch our video on that if you like. I'll also include the recipe in the link in the video description, but it's just equal parts your favorite barbecue sauce and ranch dressing. It sounds a little gnarly, but it tastes really good. All that creamy, herbaceous ranch dressing mixed together with a little smoky sweetness. Really great in a lot of applications, including this one. So we're gonna throw these on the platter now. They're all the way done. If you're wondering how do I check for doneness on these, you just want that internal temperature up over 165 degrees, and that'll ensure that everything's gonna be plenty cooked through, and you should have a nice ooey gooey center. Let's get a bite. Oh yeah, it's got a great crust on it, and that's what we're talking about by that double dip in the flour egg wash. We've got this great crust that holds everything in. Let's see how it tastes. So creamy, salty, that smoky bacon. I gotta try out some of this barbecue sauce, our barbecue ranch as well. Oh yeah. See, that adds the sweet element, which really balances everything out. I mean, it's great by itself. You add that little touch of sweetness to what's already going on with the saltiness, creamy cheese, fatty, crunchy. It's all over the place in the best possible way. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.